Hey guys, Lauren here from Ringwood. I hope you're doing well.
And I'm Will, and here's everything you need to know about what's going on at Emergence.
Yes guys, first you have to rise and shine, people. With all that's happening over the next few weeks, we need all the prayer together that we can get. We're gonna be getting together every, Wednesday morning at 6:30 a.m. I know it's a little early, but I think you can do it. We have so much to pray about in the next couple weeks. It's gonna be at Totowa and Ringwood.
So get up early, get your coffee, and come pray together because we're praying for some really big miracles to be done in people's lives over the next several weeks. Speaking of big things, we are 1 week away from our 10-year anniversary celebration.
Yes, next week we're bringing both campuses together, Totowa and Ringwood, under one roof, and we're gonna have a blast. Just remember though guys, we have a lot of people coming, but you wanna get parked, you wanna pretty much get everything ready to go because we don't want you to miss anything. Also guys, just remember there's a slight change in our service times beginning next Sunday. Our services will be 9 a.m., 10:30, and 12 noon in Totowa starting April 3rd.
And also starting next Sunday, our Totowa Middle School is going to be moving to the 9 a.m. service. Ringwood's going to stay the same. Lots of service changes, so come ready to celebrate. Lauren, important question.
Yes, Will.
Have you been training?
Oh, not only have I been waking up early to pray, but I've also been waking up early to get ready for the eggs games. I have been cooking gnocchi eggies, scrambled eggies, running to and fro that fridge. I just can't. I don't know why this is not working.
That was good. That was good.
Keep going.
I could have jumped in.
Eggs in the basket. I mean, honestly, Will, to say that I haven't been working out is an understatement.
We forgot to mention that it was Springfest. The Eggs Games and a giant Easter egg hunt are all part of our epic Springfest celebration in just 2 weeks here in Totowa on April 9th. This festival is unlike anything we've ever done before. There's gonna be free food, rides, games.
Free ice cream. Can't leave that one out.
The Eggs Games,
A
of
raffle,
course. A
trucks.
raffle. No yoke, this is gonna be one epic festival. And part of the egg hunt at Springfest, the eggs were due back today, but if you didn't bring them, you're gonna have to make an extra stop this week in Suite 300, and you can drop them off there. No yoke, this is gonna be one incredible time.
Yeah, well, I feel like we did a pretty excellent job with this.
Yes, we have quite the experience.
That was for you, Steve. And so, Easter's also right around the corner, guys. We have 6 services across 2 campuses on April 17th to celebrate Jesus destroying the power of sin and death, and there's literally no better way or reason to celebrate. Guys, our services for Easter are going to be 9 a.m. and 10:30 at the Ringwood campus, and for Totowa, it'll be 8 a.m., 9:15, 10:30, and 11:45.
We want to see you at Springfest and Easter, but more importantly, we want your friends and neighbors and everyone you know to have a memorable time where they can experience the people of Jesus' church loving them well too. So to help your friends and neighbors take that step of coming out, we have a very special way to invite them this year. Pastor Ryan is going to share that in just a few minutes.
Your neighbors are going to get a pretty cool gift this week. And guys, we just threw a lot of information at you. If you missed it or need more details, you can use that QR card right in the seat back in front of you.
These weeks are going to be so awesome, so let's just keep loving Jesus, loving people, and plowing a counterculture.
All right, welcome back to Community Extras. Final Community Extras of the Mixtape series. It's been a lot of fun to look back over 10 years of God's faithfulness. Really excited about the opportunity in front of us over the next couple of weeks to serve our community, to be praying that folks would come out, they'd hear the gospel. Springfest would be a first step for them in that. Maybe they'll come back for Easter. And just want to encourage you, please join us in praying for that. Be praying for the event. Be praying for the people in our communities and neighborhoods that they would get to come out and hear the good news of Jesus, the gospel of Jesus, and their lives would be transformed. Excited about the sermon from this week. Is it's one of the more encouraging passages for me in the Bible in 1 Thessalonians, where Paul is writing to the church, and he says, this is a great church. And 4 things come out of that are so encouraging. The first is they're a church that labors. And they're not laboring out of insecurity. They're not laboring out of guilt or shame. That what's fueling their labor is faith, hope, and love. That, we live in a day where there are abusive churches that kind of use people and toxic churches and all kinds of stuff like that. But he says, sometimes I feel like what's going to happen is some people are going to just not labor well for Christ. And Paul says there is a way to labor well for Christ. That's full of faith. That's full of hope. That's full of love. And maybe as you guys are just kind of meeting tonight, you can talk about a time in your own life where you were just laboring well. And it was a time of hope. It was a time of love. It was a time of real encouragement for you in your faith. He says not only that, but the gospel was the engine. So they had a church where people labored well. They had a church where the gospel was the engine for the church. The gospel is the power of God. If a church has any power at all, it's because of the gospel. And Paul said it really had two ingredients. It had power when the gospel was presented and conviction when the people shared it, meaning the people were convicted that this really is the good news that either reconciles people from God when they receive it or people reject it. And I think one of the most important questions for Christians to wrestle with is, do I realize this? Does the reality of heaven fill me with great hope? Does the reality of hell motivate me for salvation, motivate me to share the good news? I have a friend who tells me that he's a really great evangelist. And he says the number one thing for him when it comes to evangelism is just the reality that it breaks his heart that people will be perishing in their sin forever, separated from God. And maybe just honestly, how does the reality of heaven and hell motivate you in a good, godly, not anxiety-filled way, but a godly way for the good news of the gospel? Paul says the gospel was the engine. Paul says they had a church that labors. Third thing that was so excellent about this church, there were leaders worth following, right? There's no shortage of leaders in scandal, both in the secular world as well as in the church world. There are no perfect leaders, right? No leader is ever perfect. Leaders are going to make mistakes. You stick around a church long enough, a leader might hurt you. A leader might let you down or disappoint you. There's a big difference between an imperfect leader and a disqualified leader. Disqualified leaders fall into deep sin, fall into patterns of rich sin, disqualify themselves from the gospel. And I always love that Paul says to Timothy, as a young leader, guard your life and your doctrine. Good churches have leaders that do both. They guard their doctrine, they preach the gospel, but they also watch their life. In this way, one of my favorite verses is, let your progress be evident. One of the things that I hope over the last 10 years is that people would say, hey, I've seen Ryan grow, not just physically. I've seen him grow in his faith. I've seen him grow in the Lord. And I hope the same for you, that if you've been around for 10 years, that you can see progress. And then lastly, and I love this, not only was the gospel the engine, not only did they have leaders worth following, not only were they laboring well in love, but fourthly, it tells us that the gospel was going to the surrounding regions because of them. That great churches are not clubs. Great churches are not just all about them and their experience. Great churches want to see the gospel go out. They want to see it reach their communities. They want to see people come to know Jesus. One of the things we're doing this spring is our Spring Fest. And it's something new. We've never done it before, but we're ultimately doing that because we believe it's going to be something that allows people to begin to know Jesus. We've had to make a few changes this spring heading into Easter, because at the end of the day, we're saying we want the gospel to go into New Jersey. People are perishing in sin. People don't know Jesus, and we're doing all we can to bring that good news to them. And so hope you guys have a good discussion. Don't know what is going to challenge you guys tonight, whether it's kind of laboring, faith, hope, and love, the gospel as the engine, leaders worth following, or the gospel going out from among you. Pray for you guys. You have a great discussion, and it was a lot of fun to teach through these 10 sermons from the last 10 years.